Hi, this is Eric from Longbox Review at longboxreview.wordpress.com. Today I'm going to do an episode focusing on the April previews for things that are shipping starting in June. Just as a reminder, I don't do these previews episodes every month. I only do them when I'm flipping through previews and I find things that are interesting to me. A lot of things that are interesting to me, not just one or two things. I'll just tweet about that. And then if there's anything in here that might interest you. And so I was looking through the April's previews catalog, and the first thing that struck me as I went through it, and I do this a couple times. This is what I do when I'm looking through previews. I'll flip through it once real quick, just to see what catches my eye. And then I'll go through it again with an eye towards, okay, what am I going to order this month? And then I go through it again I go through it again for the order. But I may go through it a fourth time if I decide that I think I should podcast about it. I should talk about it with you guys. And so what was interesting about this particular month was that the first time I went through it, just that cursory, that first time review, was that there were a lot of really cool looking and interesting sounding independent books. But what I saw was when I started flipping through it again at the beginning is that this month is an indie edge is what Previews is calling it, a focus on the independent books, which obviously makes sense considering what I saw as I looked through it the first time. So that's where we're going to start today. I'm going to look at the independent comics first, and then there are some things from the big two that I wanted to talk about. So we'll get right to it. Let's see. Up first is Terry Moore's classic series, Strangers in Paradise, the Omnibus edition. This is soft cover. It says here, every story, every cover, every page, 2 books, 2,128 pages for $100. Now available for order. I don't know if you have not read Strangers in Paradise, I really urge you to go find a copy of. There are various trades out there. I don't know if you can find the individual issues for the complete series anyway, but you can. They're the pocketbook editions, and those are the ones that I read. There are 6 volumes of those. This is a fantastic series. It's one of the best comic books I have ever read in the last almost 35 years I've been reading comics. You really should read this comic. And here you go. If you haven't read it and you've wanted to read it, or maybe this is the first time you've heard about it and you'll look into it and decide, hey, yeah, this is something I'd like to read, you can order the omnibus. And I guarantee you that you will enjoy this series. I can't imagine how you could not. Great art, great story, great characters. Maybe I shouldn't say guarantee, but as close to guarantee as I can get without actually guaranteeing anything. Because I'm not gonna say I'm gonna give you your money back if you don't like it. Anyway, so you should check it out. Strangers in Paradise Omnibus, $100. I'm probably gonna add that to my order. Even though I have the 6 volumes, I would like to have that larger edition, all one collection. That'd be really nice. Okay. Next up, I thought this was interesting. From Arden Entertainment, Mythopolis. This is Mythopolis number 1, $3.99 by Richard Ems, Marco Tunney, and Marco doing the cover art with Carlos Zuniga. Let's see. A politician, a disgraced cop, a dancer, a Japanese business tycoon, a journalist, and a conspiracy theorist. Wow, there's a lot of characters here. What do they all have in common, and what links them all together? This book has been best described as The Godfather meets Aliens. Need we say more? See, and what caught my attention were the cover images, and that's usually again, I go through it the first time, and that's what I'm looking for, is those distinctive cover images that somehow speak to me. And this is one of those things, and there are 4 covers here. And then I read the description. I'm like, wow, that's an interesting premise. I might have to check that out. But this is for $3.99. This is a soft cover 7x10 book, 28 pages. It looks interesting. Also, The Art of Fiction It's interesting. I don't normally look at the company names that much, but this time I did. So Art of Fiction, anyway, is coming out with 5 Color Comics #1. And what caught my eye about this was the image. And so they have an ad. It's a half-page ad here going down one side of the page, and it's got an image of what looks like a cave woman with an albino gorilla, and that's what caught my eye. But this is by looks like Eric Warfield and Paul Grimshaw are the writers, and the artists are. Let's see. This is by a lot of different people. Bruce Timm, Radolfe. I don't know how you say that. Gwenoden? Paul Pope, Steve Rude, Bill Sienkiewicz, Bruce Timm, Eduardo Risso, David Lapham, and more it says, of comics and animation's top talent. And so, all new original characters from the Art of Fiction featuring art by some of the greatest names in the comics and animation industries. 48 pages of action and adventure with pirates, zombies, jungle girls, and a giant ape. $8.95. Okay, I haven't talked about this on the podcast. I did talk about this on the video I did that's on YouTube. If you go to youtube.com/user/longboxreview, there's a link on the feedback page at the website, longboxreview.wordpress.com. Anyway, Suicide Risk by Mike Carey and Elena Casagrande. This is issue #2, but I did order #1. You can check out the little talk I did on the video if you'd like. But this is a new series, a creator-owned series by Mike Carey, most recently known for the Unwritten series, which is awesome. He also did Lucifer. He's done a lot of different work over the years. He had a run on Hellblazer. I love his work. I love his writing. I love his ideas. Pretty much, if Mike Carey's name is on it, I'm going to try it out. And this is indeed the case with Suicide Risk. I just wanted to point that out for those that may not have seen or were interested in Suicide Risk #1 from last month. And I mentioned the ape in the Art of Fiction book. Here we get another ape. Apes sell, right? You put an ape on the cover. That's the old adage for comics. So here's a new title from Boom Studios, which is also where the Suicide Risk is from. Six Gun Gorilla. This is by Simon Spurrier and art by Jeff Stokely. Welcome to the Blister, a bizarre otherworld colonized by humans sometime in the 22nd century, which quickly became a hotly contested source of fertile land and natural resources long ago exhausted on Earth. Let's see here. It's a pulpy mashup of Western weirdness and lo-fi science fiction unlike anything else on the stands. Yeah, just that image of the gorilla with the six guns here. What is with there's the Sixth Gun series. I think there was also something called Six Guns, published by I can't remember who now. And now this Six Gun Gorilla. What is that? What is with that? It's like a comic book meme or something. I don't understand it. Also from Boom Studios, I just wanted to mention the Extermination series Volume 2 trade paperback is being solicited. This is also by Simon Spurrier with art by V. Ken Marion. This collects the second half of the series. I originally got this because I like the premise of it. You know, a superhero and one of his supervillains have to team up to fight an alien invasion, and then suddenly the series took this weird turn, and I think it was partly because, and this is just my speculation, but I think it was partly because this series was being canceled, and so they wanted to tie up everything before, to give us an ending, which is too bad because I could see a long-term story going on here, and the relationship between the hero and the villain was really interesting and entertaining. So, okay, next up from Cartoon Books is Bone, 1-volume color 20th anniversary slipcase edition. So I referred to Strangers in Paradise being a must-read for any comic fan, and I didn't quite say it like that, but there you go. But here's another one, Bone by Jeff Smith. So you get this in color in one volume, and they already have the black and white collection in one volume, but now you can get the color thing. And my wife and I have read the, I think it's a Scholastic editions, but they're the colored versions. So we got all 9 volumes of the Bone series individually, and we love that series. It's not as good as Strangers in Paradise to me, but my wife absolutely loved it, and she does not read comics in general. So to get her to love a comic like that was that speaks to the story and just the how interesting Bone actually is. So you should check that out. Moving on to Dynamite Entertainment. Here is Uncanny #1. This is by Andy Diggle with Aaron Campbell on art, and Jock and Sean Phillips doing covers. So that's good. Let's see. It says here, 6 billion skill sets, one last chance. Weaver is unique, or so he thinks, born with an uncanny ability. He could steal other people's skills, their memories, abilities, and expertise for a limited time. A man with power like that could change the world, but as a professional gambler, con man, and thief for hire, Weaver prefers to look out for #1. That is, until he finds himself drawn into a dangerous game of international intrigue where the rules keep changing, the players are hidden, and the first thing he stands to lose is his life. And maybe, just maybe, he isn't so unique after all. Well, I might check that one out. And by that I mean sometimes I see these series and I'm like, oh, that sounds really good. I'd like to buy that. And then I do the tally to see how much I'll be spending that month, and my jaw drops and I have to recompose myself and then decide, do I want this or wait for a trade? So we'll see about this one. This is 32 pages for $3.99. I wish they hadn't put that last bit in there, and maybe, just maybe, he isn't so unique after all. Either he's unique or not, so, make up your mind and go with that story instead. But that's just me being nitpicky about words. Much like Suicide Risk, I wanted to mention this because I haven't had a chance, I don't think. But Miss Fury, this is also from Dynamite Entertainment. Miss Fury #3 is being solicited. I've been enjoying the Golden Age characters that Dynamite's been bringing back. They have the Masks series featuring a lot of the characters that they've been publishing recently, and so now one of those characters, Miss Fury, will be in her own series, and so I just wanted to mention that. I haven't read #1 yet, but I hear it's okay. I haven't heard a whole lot of, wow, you must really, really read this, but I've enjoyed the stuff coming out from Dynamite, especially when it comes to the Golden Age characters, so I'm taking a chance. Also taking a chance on this, Battlestar Galactica #2. And I did talk about this on that video, the YouTube video, so last month they solicited #1. This is by Dan Abnett, Andy Lanning, writers, Caesar Razik, doing the art with Alex Ross covers. This is old school Battlestar Galactica, not the reimagining. And I tell you what, I loved both. I loved the original when I was a kid, and I loved the Ron Moore reimagining version of the series. But I'm really curious what they're going to do with the original cast, if you will, crew, whatever, in comic book form. I've been really disappointed recently with a lot of the TV to comic properties. So I imagine that this will also be something along those lines. But it's got Abnett and Lanning doing the writing, so I think I should give them the benefit of the doubt, definitely, considering their reputation. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that is all about. And great Alex Ross covers. I mean, it looks, if I could get a monthly Battlestar Galactica comic drawn by Alex Ross with the way the things look on the covers, that would be a no-brainer. And speaking of masks, from, again, Dynamite, the final issue of the 8-issue limited series will be out, featuring, interestingly enough, one of the covers anyway, one of the 4 covers, has Miss Fury displayed prominently in the foreground. So there you go. And also ending, again from Dynamite. See, there's a lot of stuff from Dynamite that I've been getting, and asked me 2 years ago if I'd be reading all these comics from Dynamite, I would have looked at you like, what the heck are you talking about? But here I am, Peter Cannon Thunderbolt number 10 of 10. And again, I think this is one of those comics that got canceled before its time. I don't think it was intended as a 10-issue limited series, and I might be wrong about that, but it was, I think, when they solicited number 7 that they started putting this of 10 at the end of it. But anyway, we get the final issue. I've been enjoying this. I think the story was interesting. The character was interesting. I didn't know anything about Peter Cannon. I knew of the character, but I had never read anything featuring that character, and I've enjoyed this relaunch, if you will. All right, moving away from Dynamite, finally, and going to Devil's Due, is Mercy Sparks, number 1. This is by Josh Blaylock and Matt Murhoff. Let's see. Mercy Sparks is Heaven's secret weapon, a devil girl secretly living among us as a human, hunting rogue angels who've fallen off the grid. Which, right there, that gets me. You put in the whole heaven-hell angle, angels and demons. I pretty much will take a look at what the story is about at the very least. So, when not fighting, Mercy's boozing it up with her tech genius, heavy metal roommate Hank, coming up with amazing gadgets to take down the next divine target. What at first appears to be a simple mission unfolds into an epic divine battle, finding Mercy at the epicenter. So apparently this is a relaunch of something that had come out last in 2009, where it went on hiatus, it says, but now she's back, and just the premise alone makes me interested, although I have to admit the Matt Murhoff cover that they're showing, that art I'm not all that keen on, so I guess we'll see. I might have to take a look at some of his Mr. Murhoff's art to see if I really want to invest in this story. From OSSM Comics, I only want to note this because I did a review of issue 1 of this comic, which is Xenoglyphs, and this is issue number 3 being solicited. But anyway, I did a review of issue 1 several months ago, and I unfortunately had to pan that quite a bit. I did not think it was a very good comic. But I find it interesting that the writer, Omar Spahi, I'm going to say Spahi, he's the guy behind it. He's the one marketing it, pushing it, which is how he got a hold of me to ask to have me take a look at it. Anyway, he's still in here. He's in previews, for crying out loud, with one comic. So I think at the very least, he deserves some credit for that accomplishment. Anyway, this is art and covers by PJ Katakuten, and it's a miniseries. This is issue 3 of 6 for $3.99, if you're so inclined. All right, Oni Press. I thought this was interesting. This is a collection of webcomics by R. Stevens. This is called Diesel Sweeties. I'm a rocker, I rock out. And this is not something I will buy, but just the whole premise of it. Let's see, this is Diesel Sweeties is the long-running and pioneering webcomic that was into pixel art before pixel art was cool and made fun of hipsters before you knew what that word meant. And so now you get 136 pages, 8x8, $19.99, and some of the jokes on here, because it's a webcomic, so it's more or less a strip format. They were pretty funny. I thought it was pretty cool, and just the 8-bit stuff, because now it's a thing. There are even I'll talk about this in a bit, but there are even covers, 8-bit covers for other comics now. So it looks interesting. I think it would be a nice diversion, especially if you like this kind of stuff. All right, from Pantheon Books, there's 3 things I just want to point out. One of which I already own, but the other 2 I've been wanting to buy. So first up is Asterios Polyp, the graphic novel by David Mazzucchelli. Asterios Polyp's New York lifestyle goes up in flames. Trying to rebuild, he leaves the city and relocates to a small town in the American heartland. But what is this escape really about? The pieces of Polyp's life come together as past and present collide, and the mystery of Hannah, the artist he loved, deepens. Mazzucchelli's extraordinarily imagined world of brilliantly conceived eccentrics becomes a masterpiece, a great American graphic novel. $30 for 344 pages, hardcover. Next up is Chris Ware's Building Stories hardcover. Now, I can't remember who put me onto this, but this is a hardcover book for $50, 224 pages. But all I've heard is how interesting this book is, how it's put together, what it's about. So $50 though, it's kind of expensive for my budget, but we'll see. I might be able to get it later. But I really want to read this. I am going to read this at some point. In case you don't know what this is about, Building Stories follows the inhabitants of a 3-flat Chicago apartment house, a 30-year-old woman who has yet to find someone with whom to spend the rest of her life, a couple, possibly married, who wonder if they can bear each other's company for another minute, and finally an elderly woman who never married and is the building's landlady. The scope, the ambition, the artistry, and the emotional heft of this project are beyond anything we have yet seen from this artist or in this medium. So there you go. And finally, by Craig Thompson, who you may know from having done Blankets, which is a phenomenal book. This is Habibi. $35, 672 pages. So it's a deeply romantic story that explores and celebrates the beauty and cruelty, the complexity and depths of the Islamic world. Set in a mythical Middle East, at once contemporary and timeless, Habibi is a parable about a relationship to the natural world and the common heritage of Christianity and Islam. The magic of storytelling allows us to see the fragility embedded in cruelty, to understand how beauty can preserve us from destruction and how love can save us from loss of hope. Wow, that's a lot for one book, but it's definitely something that I want to read. I've seen this book in bookstores, and it's a beautiful looking book. There's just a lot of money for for these books and everything else that I buy. So, but I am going to get it one day. So I mentioned just a few minutes ago the pixel art covers, and these are the covers from Valiant's line of books. So it's got Archer and Armstrong, Exo Man of War, Bloodshot, Harbinger, and Shadow Man are all having 8-bit pixel art variant covers. If that's something you're into. Does anyone out there read Back Issue magazine? I've been getting a few of those off and on when the content is something that interests me. And this issue, number 66 from April Previews, is one of those. So Back Issue marvels at team-ups from the Bronze Age, that's the age that I started reading comics, and have a soft spot on my heart for that kind of stuff. And I love the team-up books from that era. And so this magazine is taking a look at those, examining Marvel Team-Up, Marvel 2-in-1, Supervillain Team-Up, Claremont and Simonson's X-Men New Teen Titans, DC Comics Presents Super Team Family, and the Batman of Earth B, Bob Haney and Jim Apato's Batman of Earth B. And if you don't know what that's about, you should Google Earth B, Bob Haney and Earth B. That's a fascinating concept. And Superman, Captain Marvel, SmackDown. So $8.95 for 84 pages. It's a good magazine. I enjoy reading that. All right, Taschen. Now, remember a couple years ago now? Maybe just a year and a half. I can't remember. Taschen came out with that 75 years of DC history, that huge, huge thing that weighs a ton. Well, they started coming out with... They've broken out the book into the various ages, and so they've already solicited the Golden Age of DC Comics, and now this month they are soliciting the Silver Age of DC Comics, 1956 to 1970. This is by Paul Levitz, and with art by various people, of course. This is 416 pages for $60. I got the full volume. And have looked through it a couple times, and it's amazing, especially a lot of the reproduction of the art. But just to get the history, a lot of the stuff that you may not know about. The only problem with these broken up books is that they're adding some new stuff that wasn't in the original edition, and that kind of irritates me. But oh well. Imagine it can't be that great of stuff, so I'm okay with it. Okay, so let's move on to the other independents that are in previews. Start with Dark Horse. And so I mentioned how, the cover image is are that's the primary thing that gets me to notice something. And this was one of those. This is Ron Randall's Trekker Omnibus, and with a beautiful cover image here. I don't know, it's really nice looking art. So this is 328 pages for $25. Enter the retro-futuristic world of Mercy St. Clair, a talented and troubled bounty hunter navigating a society steeped in extreme violence on her journey of growth and self-discovery. Like I said, anyway, I don't know this series, but the cover image looks interesting. So where Dynamite Entertainment is bringing back a lot of Golden Age characters, Dark Horse is doing the same thing with Captain Midnight. This is number 0. So this is collecting stories, 3 stories from Dark Horse Presents, and they're putting it out. So I imagine that they're going to be doing an ongoing with this. This is by Joshua Williamson, writer Victor Ibanez, Pere Perez. Yep, those are the artists. And so they're bringing in. So this also reminds me again of Dynamite's Miss Fury, because what they're doing with a lot of these Golden Age characters are, well, I won't say a lot. The plots to Captain Midnight and Miss Fury are similar in that they bring these Golden Age characters from the World War II era into the present day. So that's what happens. Captain Midnight, fighter pilot extraordinary and expert inventor, hurtles out of a freak storm in the Bermuda Triangle into the 21st century. If you're into that kind of stuff. I'm not going to get this, but I just thought it was interesting considering what Dynamite's doing. And also from Dark Horse, Black Beetle Volume 1. This is the collection of the limited series that Francesco Francavilla has done, which I have to admit, I've only read 2 issues of it. It's okay. I don't think it's all that great of a story. I think the art's pretty good. But, to each their own. Anyway, that is $20 for 152 pages. You should at least check it out if you're interested in Francavilla's work. And I just wanted to mention this as well. Matt Kent's Mind Management number 12 is being solicited, and this will be my final issue of that series. I jumped on at number 7. I bought the 0 issue and thought that was interesting, and then I, for some reason, didn't pick up the comic with number 1, and so I missed out on the first 6 issues in that first arc, and so I decided, well, I'm going to get the second arc, and again, it's just, personal taste is not for me. It's okay. It's an interesting story to a degree. I'm not a big fan of Kent's art, but I know a lot of people are. And I know I've mentioned this. I can't remember if it was that video again or if it was on a previous podcast, but Buffy the Vampire Slayer Willow Wonderland is in trade. I can't really... I've said this before in some fashion, but I can't recommend this series. It was meh. I didn't feel like it really added much to the character or the overall Buffy season 9 story, but if you like Willow, I guess you should get this. This is by Jeff Parker, Christos Gage, Brian Ching is a penciler, Jason Gordon the inker. Michelle Madsen did some covers along with David Mack, and I got the first issue of the Michelle Madsen cover, which I thought was beautifully done. And then the rest of the series, I got the David Mack covers, which were also beautiful. So, it's weird that there are many titles that I'm reading recently where I'm liking the covers more than the actual art and story of the comic itself, which I don't know what that says, but other than I might be getting ripped off a little bit. All right, moving on to IDW. I will not be getting this, but even though I'm a huge fan of this, but I know people out there that like these things, I just want to mention it. The X-Files Season 10, Number 1. This is by Joe Harris, Michael Walsh on art. Wow, I love the X-Files. Even even through the end of it, through what was they did season 9, right? Yeah. Well, this is season 10 comics, so there you go, season 9. They did. I mean, the quality of the show did kind of fall off after the 5th season, but I kept with it. I can't see, given the end of season 9 and then the 2 movies that have followed, which were really disappointing. The last one was disappointing anyway, very disappointing. I can't see where they would go with this. It doesn't say anything along the lines of this being, set between the end of season 9 and the movies or whatever. I don't know, but I just don't see where they're going to go with this. Anyway, that's for the writer to worry about, right? Also from IDW, and I love this. So I think there's a couple things in IDW, but I love how IDW publishes things from other publishers, and it makes me wonder why that other publisher has no interest in this. But IDW is publishing Superman the Silver Age dailies from 1958 to 1961. This is volume 1. $50 for that, 288 pages. So it's very interesting that DC isn't doing this themselves. I don't understand that, but I'm glad to see that somebody is. This is not something that I will be ordering, but I know there are fans of Superman out there that would like this kind of stuff. IDW being the licensed property publisher that it is, they did a Star Trek and Legion of Superheroes. Again, there's a DC property. They did a Star Trek Legion of Superheroes crossover by Chris Robertson and Jeffrey Moy on art, Phil Jimenez covers, and again, here's a title where the covers were the best part of this series. I mean, it was okay. I guess maybe it suffered from just too many characters involved, and the story was just so-so, which that's kind of how I see Chris Robertson's work anyway. He's okay. Anyway, that's $20 if you wanted to get that collection. If you can find somebody who gets that or has the issues and you read those, I would say go ahead and do that. I don't know that you should waste your money on it, though. Speaking of Chris Robertson, I say that not so nice thing about him, and now I'm highlighting his work. But Edison Rex by Mr. Robertson and Dennis Culver on art. This is a 120-page trade paperback, $20. Kind of reminds me of a little bit of the Mark Waid series from Boom. What was that called? Irredeemable. And also a little bit of Extermination in some way. But anyway, this is this collects the first 7 issues of the Monkey Brain Comics digital series, and that's Chris Robertson's pet project, is the Monkey Brain Comics. Edison Rex is the smartest man in the world, a criminal genius, and the arch nemesis of the world's greatest protector, Valiant. Having dedicated his life to defeating Valiant and proving once and for all that he is a menace to humanity and not a hero, what will Edison do once he finally succeeds? And with Valiant out of the way, who will be left to protect the Earth? So, that's an interesting premise. I may have to pick that up at some point. Okay, I wanted to mention this also. I'm still in IDW. Michael Kaluta, The Big Book. So this is a $60 hardcover focusing on Mike Kaluta's career. So he did what they call his defining rendition of the Shadow in the 1970s. Ugh, tongue-tied here. He's produced countless gorgeous images that have never ceased to enchant us. And I mention this because I just recently got a Madame Xanadu issue from 1981, I think it was, that had Kaluta as the cover artist, and it was gorgeous, very very nicely done, and I would like to see more of Kaluta's work. Okay, finally out of IDW and into Image Comics, where I first heard about this next title that was talked about at the Emerald City Comic-Con during the Image panel. This is Greg Rucka's and Michael Lark's Lazarus, #1. 32 pages, $2.99. Family Part 1. In a dystopian near future, government is a quaint concept. Resources are coveted and possession is 100% of the law. A handful of families rule, jealously guarding what they have and exploiting the waste who struggle to survive in their domains. Forever Carlyle defends her family holdings through deception and force. As the protector, they're Lazarus. Shot dead defending the family home, Forever's day goes downhill from there. I'll be getting that, definitely. Also from Image is a series that I started, well, I read issue 0 way back when. I actually did a podcast. I can't remember what episode it is, but I did a review of that episode, or that issue 0. And that's Hoax Hunters, and they're doing a one-shot, it looks like, called Case Files Number 1. $2.99 for 32 pages is by Michael Morrissey, Steve Seeley, and more, with art by Ron Salas, Nick Pitara, and more. It says, in this annual issue, the Hoax Hunters dust off some of their lost cases from the archives, featuring those particular creators, and more. Even Fax Ben Hansen makes an appearance. I'm not sure what that means. I may have to buy that, because I did enjoy the premise of the series. I just didn't order it after issue 0. But I might check out this annual. And here's my plug. I just read the most recent issue of Saga, and that is, if it's not the number 1 comic, it's definitely in my top 5. I kind of depends on what's coming out at that moment, but Saga has consistently been one of the best comics being published anywhere these days. So Saga Volume 2 has been solicited. This is Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples' epic. I mean, the title of the comic is indicative of this epic story, beautiful art, amazing. It's just an amazing piece of work. And if you're not reading Saga, I don't understand that at all. And if you haven't jumped on to the bandwagon, here's your opportunity to get volumes 1 and 2 now of this fantastic series. And you get 144 pages for $14.99. Come on, that's an awesome price for such great stuff. And this is one of those series where I'm seriously considering getting trades of it, even though I'm getting the monthly series. When they come out with an omnibus of this, and they will, I'll probably be getting that. Next up is A Distant Soil, Volume 1, The Gathering. This is Colleen Duran's. This is the first new edition of the out-of-print Volume 1 collection. Returns in a spectacular digitally remastered volume. I've heard over the years that A Distant Soil is an amazing piece of work. I've never read it, so here's my chance. I'll probably be getting that. And, well, here's another one. And so if I keep adding all of these collections, I may go broke. But Infinite Vacation, the hardcover by Ed Brisson, and art by Michael Walsh. So this is the deluxe oversized hardcover for $25. Oh, I forgot to mention, A Distant Soil is $16.99 for 240 pages. So I think that's pretty good. Anyway, back to Infinite Vacation. So I did not pick this up monthly, or I guess not. I can't even say monthly, but the individual issues, because there was a problem, I guess, with getting this book out. But this collects issues 1 through 5, plus extras. I just heard this was a really good series, interesting series, so I do want to read this at some point. Just may not be when it comes out in a few months. Too many comics, not enough money. I am, however, getting this. I pre-ordered number 1, and they're finally soliciting number 2. I think this is like every 6 weeks or bi-monthly or something that they're doing this. But this is Mark Miller and Frank Quitely's Jupiter's Legacy. Okay, well, I guess that's it. That's it for the Independents. Lots of good stuff here. Amazing work that I just wish I had more money so I could buy all this stuff. So, but let's just talk briefly about Marvel and DC. Let's do Marvel first. The Age of Ultron event comes to an end. with issue 10, although they're doing an Age of Ultron number 10A.I. So I guess that's a precursor to the Avengers AI series that was announced recently. I've read through issue 3 of Age of Ultron. It's okay. I don't think this is not Bendis's best work. Okay, Avengers number 14. This is, and I only point this out, although I am enjoying it. It's by Jonathan Hickman. Although it says Nick Spencer, Hickman and Spencer writing, so I wonder when did that happen. Anyway, this is the prelude to the Infinity event that's coming up. So if you're interested in the Infinity stuff coming out this year from Hickman, here's your prelude to it. So I'm already getting that, so I'm glad I'll be getting that prelude. Anyway, next is Wolverine number 4 and 5, so double shipping. Yay! Thanks a lot, Marvel. So I got this. I got number 1. Well, I got Wolverine, this new series, because it was written by Paul Cornell, and it's done by Alan Davis on art. So with issue 4, however, I think I'm going to be dropping it because that's the end of the first storyline. And Alan Davis isn't doing the art on issue 5. It was an okay okay first issue. I think where the story is lacking, Alan Davis makes up for it in terms of his wonderful art, but it's not enough to keep me around, unfortunately. And where I thought I would be dropping Indestructible Hulk after Simonson was done with his fun, I'll say, we get a Daredevil guest star in the Hulk number 9. This is Blind Rage Part 1, of course written by Mark Waid, and art is by Matteo Scalera, which is the cover. Oh, the cover's by Paulo Rivera, which is just beautiful. The Waid Hulk series has been okay. I've enjoyed the first arc so far well enough, but again, it's not enough to keep me around. But I'll be getting this Daredevil crossover thing for sure, just because I love Daredevil. He's probably my favorite Marvel character. Speaking of Daredevil, here is so they just did Daredevil End of Days, and now they're doing Daredevil Dark Knights number 1 of 8. And this, it says here, a gorgeous new series featuring the greatest talents in comics brings you the rest of the Man Without Fear's story. And the first one is by Lee Weeks. I don't know what this series is about. And is Lee Weeks doing the whole thing, all 8 issues, or is it just this one? Or I don't get what this is supposed to be. So I guess I'll have to go online and find out. But I'll be getting it. I'm a Daredevil whore. I get most anything that is Daredevil. And then just to point out, because it's a wonderful, wonderful thing, Hawkeye number 12, Matt Fraction with Francesco Francavilla doing the art this time. David Aja taking a break, I guess, but doesn't matter because you got Francavilla doing it. And I also wanted to point this out because of the solicitation text. It says the sleeper hit of 2012 is now the can't miss book of 2013, and probably the overhyped book you're sick of people talking about in 2014. Or maybe even now. It's just so good, though. All right, that's all I wanted to say about Marvel. Next up, DC. Got 2 new Superman books debuting this month, or in this April previews. Superman Unchained by Scott Snyder and Jim Lee. There's a backup story by Dustin Nguyen. This is $4.99, 32 pages. Scott Snyder doing and Jim Lee doing Superman. Yes, please. And then the second one is the Batman Superman number 1. This is by Greg Pak, written by him, and Jay Lee doing the art. And this is $3.99. Interesting. So why? Wait a minute. So Superman Unchained is 32 pages for $5. And Batman Superman is 32 pages for $4. What the F, DC? All right. Well, I'm getting it anyway. The premise of Batman Superman is examining how they became friends, what they did, their adventures, etc. So I like those kind of stories. I like those two characters. We'll see how Greg Pak writes them. All right, moving on. I can't decide about one of these next two. This is already talked about before many times, but Larfleeze is getting his own ongoing, I guess, by Keith Giffen and Scott Collins doing the art. No, thank you. But this is the one I can't decide. But I'm probably going to get. Well, I will definitely get the first few issues since I pre-order my comics. I'll at least get the first three. But this is Trinity of Sin Pandora, written by Ray Fox, with art by Daniel Sampere and Jonathan Glapion. Covers by Ryan Sook. That's good. But this is talking about this Pandora character. A prequel to the upcoming Trinity War, which I guess that's enough to get me interested. When Pandora first appeared in Flashpoint, it was very intriguing. Then we found out, what she was. She actually is the Pandora. But the appearances since then, more recently in the Phantom Stranger issues that I've read, I'm not as compelled by her as I was, because she's just an angry person with guns who's trying to undo everything, where she has felt wronged by the gods or those whatever those immortals were. So I'm a little leery about this, but I'll check it out, especially since it has something to do with the Trinity War, which I am very interested in. Another Scott Snyder book here. This is Batman 21. This is the Year Zero, where we get the origin of the Dark Knight. I'm very much looking forward to this, although does it really have to be 11 issues? I don't understand why they're doing that. But anyway. Green Lantern number 21. Here, this is, and I only want to mention this because I knew this would probably happen back when the Guardians took Hal's ring away and booted him out of the Corps. And then the Guardians went, batshit crazy. But this is written by Robert Venditti, so this is the new creative team on Green Lantern, with art by Billy Tan. Hal Jordan becomes the leader of the most feared and hated group in the universe, the Green Lantern Corps. Feared and hated? Wow. I'm really interested to see what happens in the issues between that have yet to come out and issue number 21. And finally, DC Comics presents, got ahead of myself. DC Comics presents Superman Team-Ups Volume 2. I got that first volume, I don't know, it was a long time ago, but I got it because I loved that DC Comics Presents series, and I had not read a lot of those comics. So I bought the first volume, and I wanted to get the second volume, and it was solicited, I believe, a long time ago, and it never came out. I don't understand why. I could be wrong about that. Maybe I was thinking it should have been solicited shortly after volume 1, and it never was for some reason. Regardless, here it is, volume 2, with a great cover, and I don't know if this is going to be the final cover to this, but it's a great cover from, I believe it was number 36, which is Superman and the Starman. What was his name? The Prince, the guy that was that Prince Gavin. I think that's right. Anyway, I did a review of 4 issues of DC Comics Presents that featured Mongol when he was first introduced, and number 36 was the kind of like the epilogue to that story, and so that's included. You can go find that at longboxreview.wordpress.com if you're interested. I examined all 4 issues at length and pulled some images from the issues, some panels that I thought were interesting. But I'll be getting that. And here's a new number 1 from DC Comics that I'm really looking forward to. The oft talked about and never materialized until now, Kurt Busiek's Astro City number 1, with art by Brent Anderson It's back in a new ongoing monthly series that showcases old heroes and new as the ambassador comes to Earth and an ordinary man is caught up in a cosmic conflict, which that's a pretty good one-line description of Astro City. Features the return of favorites like Samaritan and Honor Guard and the debut of some new sensations. So, yeah, this is $4 for 40 pages. $4 for 40 pages, and yet Superman Unchained is $5 for 32. And I want to mention this next one, The Wake #2 by Scott Snyder and Sean Murphy, just because I haven't had a chance to talk about it. I will be getting that. It's a 10-issue limited series for $3 a piece. That's pretty good. And then also American Vampire, more Scott Snyder stuff. The Long Road to Hell #1. This is a one-shot. I believe American Vampire is on a break, so Scott can do these other things. But he did talk about, and this was at not this last Emerald City Comic Con, but I think the one before that. I can't remember. It was one of those cons where they talked about this, but American Vampire would be taking a break, but they'd be doing these specials or limited series or whatever, and this is one of those. This is written by Scott again and Raphael Albuquerque with art by Mr. Albuquerque. $7, 64 pages, one shot. And way back when, at the beginning of the episode, or towards the beginning of the episode, I talked about Mike Carey and his Suicide Risk series. Well, here is Mike Carey's DC work, The Unwritten, number 50. 50 issues of this fantastic story. Art by Peter Gross and Mark Buckingham. And you may recognize Buckingham because that's the Fables guy. And why is that? Because this is the start of the Unwritten Fables, a 5-issue storyline that drags Tom Taylor into the heart of a world he never made from the pages of Vertigo's hit series Fables. So we're getting this interesting crossover. It says here, in desperation, the witches of Fabletown gather to summon the greatest mage the worlds have ever seen. And so I guess that's where they get Tom. But yeah, really looking forward to this. And for you Neil Gaiman Sandman fans out there, here's Sandman Omnibus Volume 1 hardcover. 1,040 pages, $150. Collects the first 37 issues of Sandman and the Sandman Special #1. So it says the first half of Neil Gaiman's acclaimed horror classic. Horror classic? I wouldn't characterize it as horror. Some elements, sure, but come on. All right, well, I guess that's it. I'm out of tabs on in my previous book, and so I guess that's all I have to talk about. Please let me know what you think of these things. If there's anything that I've missed that you think people should know about, or even that I should know about. Someone, I can't remember if this was online or via the podcast, but someone said I think it was over Twitter actually. Someone told me I should read I Kill Giants. And so I recently bought that. So there you go. I take your suggestions seriously. So let me know what you think. If you'd like to leave feedback about this episode or any other episode of the Longbox Review podcast, please do so. You can leave email at longboxreview@gmail.com. You can also leave voicemail at 208-953-1841. I'd love to hear from you. And if you wouldn't mind, please leave a review on iTunes. That would be nice. That helps get the podcast noticed by other people. But mostly, just get a hold of me. I'd love to hear from you. Have a conversation. I would obviously, if you leave feedback, I will talk about it on the air. And there you go. So, thanks for listening, and I will talk to you soon.